Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. Please feel free to write me at walkwithtak@gmail.com if you have any question regarding this video or any other video that I have posted in the past. If you have any video that you think you would like me to make, please let me know. And I'm looking forward to hearing from you. This video is a good example of a request from a viewer. Recently, a viewer wrote to me and he asked me basically two questions. The first question he said is that, what can you do with ground beef? He said he has a lot of ground beef because each year he got a good size of beef that part of from the farm, and he would like to use up some of his ground beef in his stir frying. And secondly is that he asked a question about tofu, and he said he loved tofu. And he heard about a tofu referred to as a silken tofu, but he never know how to use it. He's very interested to see what you can do with a silken tofu. And because of these two questions, I thought I'm going to combine them to cook a dish that I will cook with ground beef together with silken tofu. Both my wife and I love silken tofu, but normally we could not get silken tofu from the local supermarket. So every time when I do visit Asian grocery store, I will load up with silken tofu. As you can see here, the silken tofu has a very soft texture. And when you take it out from the container, you have to really push it because the tofu actually attached to the side of the container. When you look at the texture of the silken tofu, it is actually more feels like jello rather than tofu. It is very soft, but in fact, surprisingly, it is quite firm. It do not fall apart easily. So what I do is that before I stir fry it, I will cut them into strips. It is difficult to cut them into cubes. So this is probably, for me, is good enough. And then I put them back into a container, which will be now ready for me to use it in my stir-frying dish. I'm going to cook this dish in my Cuisinart 14-inch stainless steel wok. I'm going to start out with about 2 tablespoons of canola oil. Now, you don't really need to season the wok that much at all because both the ground beef as well as the tofu are unlikely to stick to the surface of the wok. However, I want to get the oil as hot as possible because this will allow me to sear the ground beef. That will give them the best flavor. This dish actually normally uses ground pork rather than ground beef, but ground beef definitely will work as well as ground pork. The basic template of this dish is to cook a dish known as mapo tofu. And in the case of mapo tofu, most people will use firm tofu rather than silken tofu. So this is a variation of the basic template, and you can see how it works. So here I use about 6 ounces of ground beef. I don't need to use very much. All I need to do is to use the ground beef to provide flavor to the dish. So in many ways, the ground beef is used as a condiment rather than as a main ingredient. When you use only a small amount of meat as a condiment rather than as the main ingredient, it provides a wonderful transition from a meat-based diet to a plant-based diet. Most people find it difficult to go directly from a meat-intense diet to a completely plant-based diet. This is almost very difficult for the transition to occur, and many people miss the meat. They actually miss the flavor. So when you're using an approach like this, you still can provide the flavor, but you will be able to help to reduce the overall consumption of the meat. And so consequently, a small amount of meat in a majority plant-based meal will go a long way. It will satisfy people's need to have the flavor which they so accustomed to for many years. And this is an excellent way to make the transition from a meat-based diet to a plant-based diet. The next ingredients I'm going to add is that I'm going to use some shiitake mushroom. Now this shiitake mushroom are the mushroom that has been dehydrated. So one thing I need to do is to hydrate the mushroom. After I hydrate the mushroom, I cut them out into small chunks. Dehydrated shiitake mushroom is very popular in Asian cooking, partly because it's very convenient. All you have to do is to get the mushroom in the dry form and you soak them in water, and usually it takes about an hour for it to rehydrate. And one trick to do that is that while you run this in water, use your thumb, press the button, which right in the center of the mushroom, and that actually will allow the mushroom to absorb fluid faster. Again, this dish, the mushroom go really well with the ground beef or ground pork, whatever that you would like to use. And when you combine the two together, you cut them into small size, they will really match the flavor of the tofu. And this is one of the well-known combinations with ground meat, in this case ground beef, or ground pork with shiitake mushroom. So the next step I'm going to do is that I'm going to start to season it first. I'm going to season it first with oyster sauce, again, which is my standard approach is season my dish. Again, you can season it in many different ways that you would like to. Some people would like to just use oyster sauce alone. That will provide a savory flavor to the dish. But I also like a bit sweetness, so I'm going to use just a touch of hoisin sauce. If you like sweetness to your dish, hoisin sauce is a great way to both provide the sweetness as well as to enhance the umami flavor of the dish. And when you combine the oyster sauce and hoisin sauce together, this will give you a nice teriyaki flavor. Again, by changing the ratio, you can adjust the flavor exactly to how you like it. The next step is that I'm going to add some asparagus to this dish. Now again, the asparagus is totally optional. I like to have some green vegetable in it, and since I already have some asparagus on hand, I decided I might as well go ahead and use it. And the asparagus will give both color as well as nice texture. I add asparagus to the end because I just want to cook it very lightly. Now, there are many other approaches to season this dish. In here, I decided I'm going to add a little bit soy sauce to make the dish a little bit saltier. Totally optional, depend on who you are cooking for. Some people like it to have more salt, then the soy sauce will be great. And right now, I'm going to give a quick taste test to see whether everything is exactly how I like it. So far, so good. As you can see, all of this have no really specific planning. It is all like flavor chasing. And then I decided I'm going to add a touch more hoisin sauce to give it a little bit more sweetness. So as you can see, I'm continually in the process of constructing the flavor of this dish. And this is the fun part of stir frying because everything happens right in front of you and you can make adjustments and changes anytime you want. And okay, right here, I'm going to add some hot chili pepper flake. And the reason I do that is because my son loves spicy food. So I'm going to make this adjustment so that he will enjoy this dish as much as we do. But I add just enough so that it would be not too spicy. The final step is to add the tofu. This tofu has a very interesting color. You can see it's extremely white and which make the distinction. And as I have mentioned before, the tofu is very soft. It's almost like jello. But it's more firm, more substantive than jello. And even for people who don't like tofu, they tend to like this tofu. And this tofu actually really good in carry whatever flavor that you have in this dish. It's almost like the canvas that will allow you to carry the flavor. So the last step is that I'm going to add some Shaoxing wine. And again, I add the wine right at the end because if I want to have a nice strong flavor for the wine, it is better to add it at the end because that will prevent the wine from evaporate. So you will have a nice wine flavor to go with the dish. A few quick mix, the dish is done. Very quick. So now I have used both the ground pork, the silken tofu, and the additional item that I put in there is shiitake mushroom and asparagus, which are totally optional. Instead of shiitake mushroom, you could have put in portobello mushroom. Instead of asparagus, you can put in, say, snow peas, for example. So, as you can see, there's a lot of flexibility in creating this tofu dish. But the key is that how you incorporate ground pork or ground beef into a dish, and then how you combine tofu, in this case, silken tofu. This dish is probably nobody has ever cooked this dish before, but why not? And it is just something that anybody can create, and you can create that as well. I post a video each day to help you to make home cooking as part of your daily routine. by using my fast cooking system, you can make home cooking practical, efficient, creative, and fun. If you'd like to learn more about my fast cooking system, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. So keep on cooking. I will see you tomorrow.